Today, the Full-Time Influencer Podcast is coming to you from Taiwan. That's right, we are interviewing a Taiwanese creator, Sandy, who is based in Taichung, Taiwan. Sandy is not just a creator, but also she is a startup founder, she is a startup investor, and in this episode, we're going to do a deep dive on how creators can really truly create wealth through investing, networking, creating your own startup, and of course, working with brands as well. We're also going to talk about why Sandy prefers Instagram over TikTok as a platform, which is kind of surprising because she's actually known as the TikTok guru. So without further ado, let's get into it. Dream your future, create it today.
Hi, I'm Sandy. I am a creator by day and a tech founder by night, I guess.
Welcome, Sandy, to the podcast in my car. First, I wanted to ask you, where are you based right now? Because we are in Taiwan, and this is why I'm able to even talk to you today.
Yeah, so I'm based in Taichung, Taiwan, but I travel up here to Taipei. I love it here in Taiwan. Everything just so much better. People are so much nicer. Food is so much better too.
That's very true. I actually thought that you were based in the US when I first found you, because everything was sort of like very US pop culture, English. Yeah. So have you always been based in Taiwan? And how come you speak in English on your channels?
Yeah, so when I started on social, I was in Boston. So I was fully based in Boston, and I was planning on staying in US for like the majority of my time as well. But things changed, so I was like, you know what? I want to move back to Taiwan. That's why I built up an audience majority in US or like US speaking English. That's why I speak mostly in English on my channels.
So the decision to move back to Taiwan, was that because of COVID or?
It's because of my mom. So my mom had cancer in 2019, ovarian cancer. She's fully recovered now. And she's like doing so well.
Wow.
But that just gave me some more perspective in like what's valuable in life.
Yes.
And obviously with cancer, like there's a 5 years of like watch time. So you want to make sure everything's good.
Right. Yeah.
So you know what? I was like, what I do, I can do anywhere in the world. Why not just come back to Taiwan and stay with my family a bit more as well? Yeah.
Oh, wow. Nice backstory. Actually, how old were you when you started doing this whole online venture?
On social media? Or just in general?
Because we can dive into the business part later, I guess. So just on social media.
In social media, I was 22 when I first started. I just turned 22. So I started in end of May of 2020, a couple days after my birthday, because I was like, you know what, I want to do something new and challenging, and YouTube has something been what I want to do. I was like, I'm just going to put myself out there.
And it's been 2 or 3 years, so you're 25 now?
I'm 24 and a half, I guess. So I'm like 20, it's been 2.5 years,
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
In lunar calendar, 25. Correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so then this decision to go online, was it because you had, and we'll dive into some of the businesses that Sandy used to do, but was it because you wanted to help further your business, or is it just that you saw there was an opportunity and you wanted to hop on the train?
It was really because I thought it was fun. At that time, I thought TikTok was such a really cool platform where I can express my creativities in a way that's not judged, because people that I know aren't really on TikTok, but everyone's on Instagram at that time. So I was like, okay, TikTok somewhere I can just let go and be myself. And I found that be so refreshing. So I just keep on doing it. And I think because of that, people kind of see that, and the following and audience started to attract to the platform as well.
Was there any intention to become an influencer or to build a business by going online, or was it more to just express yourself?
At first, it was just solely to express myself, and then started to turn into something more, which I'm very privileged about,
Yeah, I see. So Sandy actually has a very extensive background in founding various companies, right? So before you started online, did you already have your e-commerce businesses?
Yep. I had a dog boutique shop, like online, selling dog collar, bandana, leashes.
So cool.
I always say if I'm not in like what I'm doing now, I'll be back in the pet industry because I love the culture there a lot more as well. So I've done that for 2.5 years since I was 19. And in COVID, we decided to stop the store. And then that's when I was like, okay, well, I'm bored. I got to do something. And that's when I was like, okay, TikTok is fun.
I see. Wow. 19. I'm so curious because like at 19 I was just bumming around like trying to learn how to dance and like dating people. How did you come to the conclusion that you would start an e-commerce store? Was it like background, or was it just the people around you?
It's really heavily influenced by my parents. I think my dad grew up very, very poor, and he was able to, he does recycling. So he tried to build a business off of himself, and seeing him work so hard with my mom all throughout my childhood, borrowing money, getting loans and things like that, ultimately being able to grow something out of that, that inspired me a lot more. And thinking that if I stick with a 9 to 5, I will be happy as well, but would I be content and fulfilled? So that's when I did something different, start a e-commerce shop. And also I hate studying.
Yeah.
So that just doesn't stick with me too.
Were you at college as well?
Oh, I was at Northeastern. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh my God, my husband went to Northeastern.
Oh, really?
Yes.
No way.
Oh, no wonder you said Boston.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So he's you're both alumni.
Oh, alumni.
Now. Yes, but he went to Northeastern when it wasn't such a highly ranked school.
Got it. It was like pretty good back then as well, like for engineering school.
Yeah. Oh, that's super cool. I see. Yeah, because I find it very inspirational when I see people who are significantly younger than me do this entrepreneurial thing, because this is fascinating to me now, but when I was like 19 or 25, I was like doing jack shit with my life, really doing nothing. So it's very cool. And you're in this generation where you grew up seeing very young people use the power of media, social media, to build these businesses. So this is a great example for anybody watching, if they're a bit younger, that you could really create anything online. You can build a business from zero online if you just know how to distribute and market.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely good and the bad in that for sure. I think that with media being so, the hustle culture in US, I was heavily influenced that, especially when I was 22, thinking that time is ticking, time's running out, I need to do things. I think that's a curse, but also the blessing in disguise, that you want to do something when you're young, but ultimately like we have so much time, and that's something I learned throughout these years, that we're just honestly just glazing by through life, learning as we go, and there's no rush to do things too.
Yes, especially you being so young and everything. I guess for me, I feel a little bit more pressure because I'm 35. There's a lot of pressure to have children, and even though we froze like embryos and it's successful, but it's still like, oh, you're gonna be really old when your kids are older and you can't like play around with them as much. So it's really good that you're thinking about it so early, but there really is a lot of time to start anything your heart desires.
I actually want to freeze my embryo as well.
You should.
Yeah,
you should.
I think I'm gonna do it in like a couple years from now.
Yeah. Because I imagine a lot of the people watching this right now are probably very entrepreneurial minded women. So if you're watching this, I highly recommend you go freeze your eggs, preferably eggs and not embryos, even though I froze embryos, but that's because I was already married and everything. It's really going to do wonders for your life because it frees up your entire life schedule and you have so much more choice. It's expensive, but what you get in exchange is freedom in all kinds of ways. And freedom from your relatives keep asking you when you're going to have kids and all that. So definitely recommend it.
Yeah, because my mom is already asking me and I'm
Really?
24. I'm like,
oh my God.
No, I don't think anytime soon.
Wow. Okay, so going back to the Instagram page, you mentioned that you started in Boston and then you moved back to Taiwan. I'm very curious because this is a problem that a lot of people have where they attract an audience, but then their life changes. Has that affected you as much when you moved to Taiwan, or do you just continue speaking in English and you still attract a US audience?
I would say it depends on the platform. I think on Instagram it's definitely a little bit difficult because Instagram is very heavily on tags and like where you're based and things like that. And their algorithm, they can immediately recognize when you switch places. Whereas on TikTok, if you keep your SIM card, US SIM card, they still think that you're in US and I'm still attracting US audience. But when I'm in Taiwan, my audience base definitely changed a lot more. It's like split so much. I'd say like 20% in US, 20% in Europe, and then Australia, Brazil, like it's all over the place. But I really don't mind. I just keep on going as I am. I think that when you switch your life up, content, it gives you a lot more freedom of like creating different contents, and people just kind of follow along. And if people don't like you, they unfollow. That's totally fine. I'm actually really happy when people unfollow me. I'm like, okay, well, bye.
Exactly. Because then they won't be lingering there as like a ghost follower. So that's really good. I really love this sort of outlook. And I think, is it partially because maybe you're not relying heavily on brand deals, so it doesn't matter as much where the audience is based, especially like I'd say product brands?
Yeah, because my content is more focused on entrepreneurial, lifestyle, business, and sometimes mixed with my personality in there. But a lot of brands that come to me are tech company, so not very heavily based on like location-wise, so I'm okay with that. But if you're a fashion creators or product-based creator, that would be... that might be an issue.
Yes, because they wouldn't be able to ship, and then when you link things, they couldn't buy it, and so on. So that definitely matters. And I think maybe the affiliate marketing market here is maybe not as advanced as in the US, where you can link like almost every single product that you use.
I still link like US stuff, but like my audience doesn't really purchase stuff from me. Like they look at my stuff and then go to like a website rather than buy stuff. But my manager is definitely keep pushing me to like, hey, like start linking things and stuff like that. I think that link clicks is something that brands want to see a lot more in 2023 for sure. Especially with the economy downturn.
So what you mean is brands are looking for direct ROI, return on investment, especially in sales, like actual sales.
Exactly.
Definitely, because the market is a bit softer right now. So I have definitely seen a bit of a slowdown in brand deals for myself, and the prices do seem to be less generous than before. And I'm not saying they're low, it's just less generous than before. Before it was just kind of like money was free flowing. It's like, oh, you want like this 5-figure number?
Go ahead.
And now it's kind of like, okay, like
they go back and forth negotiating a bit.
You gotta be a little bit smarter about it. So when you first started, was it on TikTok first or just Instagram and TikTok together?
All on TikTok first. My Instagram was more so for my personal thing. And I was still quite scared because everyone on there was like my family, my friends from high school. And I didn't want people to judge me. So everyone is on TikTok. I didn't start sharing my TikTok until I grew to 100K, I think.
Really?
Yeah. Wow. And then that's when I started to post a bit more on Instagram. And I grew a small following on Instagram, like 3,000 people. And Reels came out. That's when I started repurposing my content because a lot of my friends on TikTok started doing that. So we all did it together so we don't feel alone.
Wow. So was that repurposing of the content from TikTok to Instagram that fueled most of your Instagram growth?
Yes. Initially.
And did you have a clear focus right from the get-go, or did it take a bit of time to experiment?
Oh, yeah. So my Instagram was stuck so it grew really fast in 2020 when IG Reel rolled out, go from like 3,000 all the way to 35K. And then I was stagnant for about a year and a half and started losing followers. And then last year, I didn't repost anything much until August. And I started posting like transition video, more about my life. And I don't know what happened, but I think Instagram has a wave of bringing creator up, and every single wave, if you ride that wave, they bring you up straight up. So I went from 35K to like 200K within 3 months, and I was like, what the hell is going on? I don't know if I can curse on the podcast. Okay, so that happened. I was like, okay, well, that took 2 years. So I think that if you're consistent, that's like the most important thing.
Yes, absolutely. And it's really less about, like before, growth was a little bit more linear. And now growth is more like this, like little waves. And sometimes you might even have a big wave and then drop down even more. And then there's another wave. And I think a lot of people can get very discouraged after the big wave, and then they don't see more momentum.
And they don't stick it.
They
either don't just stick it through or just, feel like, oh, Instagram is against me. But I feel like that's not the case. I really think people have cycles in their engagement and their reach and everything.
Yeah. I like Instagram more than TikTok. I'm just going to put it out there.
Okay, that's really surprising to me because I have always kind of known you as like a TikTok person. Yeah. So can we talk about that, like the differences between the two? Because I did notice you have half the following on Instagram, but you have way more engagement on Instagram. Yeah. Can you talk about that? What's the experience like?
I think this is the first time that I've ever tell anyone that, but everyone know me as like the person on TikTok because everyone came to me before like, how do you go on TikTok and things like that, and I enjoyed that and it was great. But I think TikTok in general, they have an issue with community, and even if you build this following of 1 million followers, if the algorithm didn't come through or something happened, I don't know, it just doesn't perform as well, right? So what is the point of building an audience then if you are just not even hitting their For You page, right? But on Instagram, on the other hand, is that you can almost guarantee that there is some sort of engagement. And if you are active and you're treating your audience with respect and with like actual engagement, it's going to reward you. It's a reward system. But on TikTok, I feel like a slot machine that you're constantly playing into. Yeah. So that's why I like Instagram a lot more now.
I am so glad you said that, and especially being like a mainly known for TikTok creator and also a Gen Z, because I've wanted to say that for a long time now, like a year or so. But I'm scared to say it because I'm like this old millennial who's like grown on Instagram, and I don't want to sound like that outdated person who's like, I think Instagram is where you can have longevity.
Exactly.
TikTok is great for top of funnel, for discoverability, for more social proof, and also just knowing how the people there work and how people react, and also getting a pulse on what the masses think. You're gonna get that on TikTok, for sure. It's very valuable still, but it's just not like a good place for you to develop to put all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly.
Or to develop community or to monetize even sometimes.
Yes, to monetize even, because with brand deals, like brands want to see ROI, right? And with TikTok, it surprises your ads, and when you post an ads and it perform 10,000 view and you're like hello or like 4,000 view or 2,000 views, and when you go on Instagram you can almost guarantee if your average width is 20K, that's probably where you're gonna hit it as well. I mean, TikTok's still great if you're running a business. You should definitely still be on TikTok running ads. It's really great to drive that, but to build a community, I think YouTube and Instagram is still where the people are at.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, but what I see on TikTok seems to be like if there are lower cost products and running ads there can be very, very effective. Cost effective, people impulse buy, and it's good that way. But maybe not always the best for leads, like quality leads in terms of long-term subscription services or, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So a lot of drop shipping or like a lot of like really cool, like that has a wow factor product could do really well in ads, and if you know how to present that, it's really great. But for longevity wise, like subscription wise, that comes from value ads and building it community based, right? And with that being said, you're going to have to constantly push out viewed video and then create that community in order to the subscription to last.
I do think there are some companies that are doing a fantastic job with their community by potentially using employees or like in-house creators or mascots. But even then, I do think there's still a question of how much longevity does that skit have? Does that character have on TikTok itself? And it's great to ride that wave and have a moment, but so far it just seems that they're pretty short-lived. You have phases and then it ends.
Exactly.
In the beginning, you had social media coaching niche. Is that correct? Because I'm pretty sure that's how I discovered you, because the algorithm knows to feed me this stuff. And then you kind of transitioned out into fashion, lifestyle, talking niche, and also like transitions. And I thought it was very unique what you did, where most people get boxed into a niche, and you kind of didn't allow that to happen. So can you talk about how you can first grow with a niche, but then expand from there. Because I'm not trying to tell people not to have a niche when you're starting out. You better be known for something. Stop telling me you don't want to have a niche. Okay, sorry. Please continue.
I like what I started out with, which is like business, entrepreneurship. That kind of got me to where I wanted to go into, which is tech and venture capital. I went into a rut, like a creative rut. And I was like, okay, there's only so much I could talk about in terms of business, and I love it, but I want people to know me for me and love me as me. How can I do that? So I started studying other creators that have pivoted successfully, and I feel like what they do is basically just post anything that they want, right? But then still maintain the video that they known for. So what I've done is like I start doing like 40% of my own content and 60% of my original program content, and start slowing those original content down and start growing the other type of content. So when I started doing that, I started seeing a switch of people. The original people still like my content. If they don't, they just unsubscribe. But that's how I kind of start pivoting. I started to notice like I just wanted to be known as me, because that's where longevity is built on. But you still need a niche. I'm not gonna lie. You still need to be known as something that people can call you out of.
Right. Especially in the beginning, it's absolutely crucial, because in the beginning, if you already inserted a lot of this other types of content, it would be very hard to first get that first group of people to stay and like you for you. Oh, that's very good advice, because that's something that I'm currently kind of going through as well. Although I think because a lot of my audience on Instagram in particular are a bit older, as in they followed since like a few years ago, and maybe they're no longer active. And so what I'm seeing is it's a bit harder for me to pivot into a lot of different types of content styles. You know, I can talk about all kinds of topics, but the style has to stay the same, or else I won't get even the reach that I would normally get on Instagram.
Gotcha.
So I think it could vary a lot depending on the age of your account, as in how long it's been around for, and when you gained your audience. And then, of course, like who the audience is.
Yeah, exactly. I think most of my audience are between the ages of 18 to 24.
Wow.
I think they are a lot more fluid in terms of like what type of things like they like. But I started to train them when I first go on it. I started out dancing video. And then because I was so afraid of talking because of my accent, and I was like, I don't want to talk. I have to think so many times when I talk. And then I went into talking videos, but it's like very scripted. And now I just do whatever, like you start talking, vlogging, anything. I think just by switching up your content type can also train your audience a bit more too.
Yes. I love that. And also I bet all of the time, the couple years that you spent training yourself to talk about things scripted and to show up, that also helps you now create better content that is natural. Because if you just start out straight up on social media just talking with no experience of like how to make it more engaging, I'm not sure, like, what I'm saying is that it should come with some practice as
exactly.
well.
And even now, I'm still scripting some of them, especially with YouTube. Now I'm going to do it. I started to script everything because I know if I don't script it, I probably wouldn't end up doing it.
Yeah. So now your views on the platforms are basically TikTok is great to get explosive growth or go viral, right?
Yeah.
But it's maybe lacks a little bit of community and longevity. Instagram is great for just having a base, community, your personal brand, like all aspects of you. So what do you hope to do with YouTube, and then what's the next step from there?
I think YouTube is just growing a deeper connections with my audience, my current audience base. I think Instagram is great, but I feel like sometimes it's still pretty much one-sided. Like I don't know who I'm talking to. Like I kind of do, but like I kind of wish more interaction could come from there. And with YouTube, I feel like I could just sit down and have a heart-to-heart with my audience. Because with IG Reels, stories, and TikTok so short, you're still grabbing people's attention. But with YouTube, I just feel like I don't care. Like I'm just gonna sit down and tell you what I think. And that's what I kind of went on social media for anyway.
Yes. There is a guy on YouTube called, I think his name is Dan, and he talks about personal branding, but I don't remember what his last name is, but I'll share the channel with you. He basically just sits down. He has a nice camera, like well-lit background, but all he does is talk, and then he has various graphics in front of the screen, and I thought it was very impressive because one of his videos got picked up, and then he continued with the same topics of personal branding and how to build a one-person business online. And from there now he has 150K subs, maybe
awesome.
more now, because he keeps growing every time he pops up on my YouTube homepage.
Gotcha.
So that's maybe something that's an example
Yeah.
of what you might want to do. But I'm also finding a very interesting shift on YouTube happen, where it's becoming more casual and toned down, and like, use your phone, don't use a professional camera, don't look too professional. And it's almost like this anti-Mr. Beast movement where they don't want explosions and like, I'm gonna bury myself for 24 hours.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
how do you feel about that content change? Because you're very native to this new type of content format.
I think that it just go back to raw and authenticity, right? Because the reason why TikTok blew up is because of the authenticity of raw camera people. Anyone can become a creator, and maybe that kind of translate into YouTube a bit more. But I think ultimately people still crave quality content.
Yeah.
And there's different type of people that crave different content.
Yes.
I think there's people that want to watch Mr. B type, people that want to watch more laid back. It just see the type of audience and who you are as a creator in general.
Yes,
Yeah.
who you are as a creator is so important.
Exactly.
Because it's not just about what people want, it's about what you enjoy doing, right? Even if the whole world is like, only want to do phone stuff, if you're like passionate about your camera footage, then you should do it, because you could be the best at it.
Exactly. I actually now pick up my camera because I'm starting YouTube, and then I'm like, why would I film with my phone now? Because like, I love the quality of my camera.
Yeah.
So now on my TikTok contents, I'm starting to use like actual camera to film it. I'm like, okay, this is so fun. So it really just come down to like what you like in general.
Yes. So if you're doubting yourself whether it's like, oh, am I riding the right trend or not, just know that trends, it's like a pendulum swing.
Yep.
People will go really extreme into something and then really extreme to the other, and then they'll come back up. And so it keeps going like this.
Yeah.
It's just like fashion trends. Maxi dresses will trend for a while, but then the next 2 years it'll be mini dresses and mini skirts, and it's very extreme. And so for a few years, since like I would say 2016, we saw the very polished camera like transition and like travel footage, like a year of traveling, Sam Calder, you know, and that's great, but there was lacking a sort of authenticity and storytelling aspect. So then it started becoming storytelling, but still nice camera. And then now it's become kind of like, no, don't use your camera, going to the extreme. Just casual vlogs, personality, authenticity. And I think it's all very interesting, I think, but just don't lose your identity in it all.
Yeah,
if you lean towards one thing.
Exactly. And you can always like switch it up if you want. I think the best example might be Emma Chamberlain. Like if you notice her vlog lately that she posted over the summer, is she hired a cameraman now, and she pointed at her camera, whereas before she was vlogging herself. But that switch of content doesn't matter because she already built up an audience that people love her. So it's you that people want to follow, not the how you film that people follow.
Yes. And that's like when you have established a personal brand, then absolutely you can definitely branch out and experiment a lot. Hey, I hope you've been enjoying this conversation so far. If you have always wanted to become a creator and get paid to share about your passions on social media, then I have a free training for you. In this training, I cover the 4 steps to landing paid brand deals, even if you don't have a ton of followers. We talk about content strategy, growth strategies, and where you can find the higher paying brand deals, because we all want that. You can sign up at successfulinfluencer.com/training, and I'll link it in the description as well. Now, back to the conversation. I want to kind of switch gears and talk about your identity as a founder, entrepreneur. So you did mention that you had an e-commerce business, and then you started this creator journey online. So you have all these different identities, and now you're a co-founder of Creobase. Can you talk about what Creobase is and how it plans to help creators?
Yeah, so Creobase is an online discovery platform for creator to discover brand contact information and automate their brand partnerships. Ultimately, that come from my own pain point as a creator. When I first started out, I want to work with brands, but I have no idea where to find them, and especially quality brands that have partnered up with creator before. So I had to go through a bunch of different things, DMing on Instagram, finding contact on LinkedIn, getting their email, figuring out how to pitch them. So I was like, okay, well, why isn't there a platform basically condense all the creators that have partnered up with brand before and their contact information that get you directly to the right person? So we built this database of about 150 contact information. Creator have been utilizing it. And our next step is really helping creator automate that process. So you can build up your template on the platform. All you got to do is click it and then pitch the creators of the brands. And we'll help you follow up the brands, follow through the entire process of your brand deals as well.
I see. That's very interesting. I see that there's a lot of startups working on helping with the creator economy. Does it help to personalize some of the outreach? Is there like some management on the back end, or is it more like a platform to help automate these things?
Yeah, so it's more like a platform to automate these things.
Gotcha.
I think
Like a CRM system?
Exactly. I think that as a creator, I hate, so I also work on the brand side. I receive creators email and like I can tell if it's like a sample pitch. Like I think that creator need to do their due diligence, and when they're pitching people, they need to understand why they're pitching it and like sells it. You know, you're salesman, you're selling yourself. So I don't ever want to just supply like a template and be like, hey, like do this, but maybe like a guideline or something, and then you can guide it through. But obviously with AI now, there you can come up with something very easily personalized. So in the future, we might think about integrating AI in our platform as well, being able to generate like a more personalized pitch template.
That's incredible. Actually, I listened to another podcast and you mentioned that you're an investor in Copy AI. So can we touch briefly on AI and how you think it can help creators, or can it potentially replace some people in the creator economy?
I think that AI is here to help creator, if anything, but sometimes if you're a newer creator, it could eliminate editors, right? So if you no longer need to hire editor if AI can do a lot of like automation for you, right? I think Descript is a really great one. It automate. Now they just came up with something, basically you feed them your video and you can edit out your filler words. And like that is crazy. Like before we need editor to do that, now you don't, right? So I think AI ultimately is going to help creator create better content and faster and automate our content. So I have been personally creating, like using ChatGPT to create my content.
Oh, wow.
One of my video on Instagram is how I found my co-founder.
Yeah.
The entire video script is generated by ChatGPT.
That's incredible.
Yeah. All I got to do is be like, hey, write me a script, and I describe my co-founder journey a bit in bullet point, and then they literally script out every single thing for me. So if anything, it's just going to improve your content, like how fast you can create content as well.
Yeah. I think it's really incredible what AI is doing for someone who needs a lot of help in these tedious things. I find it very, very helpful. I still have yet to sort of fully lean into it, but ChatGPT is a really interesting example. Copy AI as well, like copywriters, it's kind of like there's a formula to copywriting, right? And I think with AI, what's scary for some people is if you don't have a distinct style or personality or some sort of differentiating factor to your work, even if you're not online, like with a personality online, it would be dangerous for your job, because this AI stuff is really good so far. There's still a lot of work to be done, because I use Descript as well, and it's not perfect, and you still need to manually do a lot of the adjusting, but it's already really, really good. So think about how you can differentiate your signature style, or how you can add your spice into, like, whether that's copywriting or content creation.
So basically one thing that AI couldn't copy is creativity, right? It's basically feeding like information to them, and they generate data based out of that. They output that, but creativity is up there, and they couldn't mimic that. So you just got to figure out what is up there that you can present to the world, like exactly you said, distinct like style of yours.
Absolutely. And that goes to all creators as well. Make sure that in the future you're thinking about how to inject personality, authenticity, I hate that word, but authenticity into your content to differentiate yourself. So then now, as a creator and founder and serial entrepreneur, like how much of your identity is being a creator and how much of it is being a founder?
I'm still figuring that out, I think, myself as well. I think that people in the startup world, think I'm more of a creator.
Yeah.
And then people in the creator world think I am a founder.
Yes.
So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But I see myself as a creatives. I think both entrepreneurs, like startup founders and creator, they're both creating things and building things. I'm a builder. I'm a creatives. I think that's intertwined. Like, in a way, startup founder is a creator too.
Yeah.
Like, they're creating something from scratch. So I relate myself to creatives.
I love that. Yeah. I kind of feel that way too, because for a while after I created my course business, I was like, I'm a entrepreneur, and then that became more of my identity. But now it's kind of just like everything you're doing is creative.
Exactly.
And you're building it. And so it's very interesting to see that in the future there will be less of a divide between the different roles, and a lot of entrepreneurs will have to be creators.
Exactly.
And a lot of creators will have to be entrepreneurs. You will have to be a jack of all trades inevitably in order to have a lasting online personal brand.
Yeah.
I think
longevity in creator is still interesting, and we can get into that in a little bit.
Yeah, actually, let's talk about it. So you did talk about this in another podcast as well, but longevity as a creator, this is something that hasn't been really proven out yet. We see some very successful creators, but a lot of them will like fade out and go live their life, which is totally fine, by the way. Not saying this is the end all be all of your life, but if someone's looking to build a lasting business for 10 years or more, other than building a following and a community and working with brands and maybe even building their own products, what other things do you think they can do? And I think this is something you can offer a lot of interesting insight into.
Yeah, for sure. I think that being a creator, ultimately, the longevity, we haven't seen a life cycle in a creator. Like, what does retirement looks like? I don't know. And do you really want to be creating contents every single day for the rest of the 20 years? I personally wouldn't. So the path is either building your business, sell a SaaS product or a product, or you can go into investment round. Angel investing is a really great way for a lot of creators to build up their wealth in the future as well.
Yeah. So this investing route is very interesting. So the investing route, if you were a creator, let's say you didn't have a ton of capital, but you have a relationship with certain startup brands and maybe you've worked with them before or you talked about them before, how do you get your way into maybe being part of that company when they're still just getting started?
Yeah, so a lot of company will start, they before we called it like angel rounds, pre-seed round, seed round, when they're like just tiny baby with ideas. And that's like the best time when a creator can provide value for them, because they need exposure and creator can give them exposure. Especially if you find a brand or a startup that matches your content super well. Let's say if you're a food creator and you found a food startup that's trying to launch an app about it, that would be the best of both worlds. And basically you could provide your value, which is being a creator, in exchange of potential equity, right? There's multiple different ways for angel investing or being involved in a startup. One, directly give them money or in terms of equity. Second is being advisory. I do both. I think the best way to navigate that is find the startup that you are interested in, approach their founders, provide maximum value that you can offer for them, continue with that relationship for a couple months, and then when they're ready to raise, or if you see an opening that you feel like, hey, I can probably make this a bit longer, like not like a one-off consultation, but like a monthly consultation thing. But hey, like, would you be interested in onboarding me as an advisor? Or when they're raising, they can save you some allocation as well.
So let's say if you are a creator, but you don't have a lot of capital, do you think it's a good idea to offer, let's say, an ambassadorship or like, or maybe a package to potentially get in on some shares in the beginning?
Yeah, so there's a lot of way to do this. Sometimes you don't even need to say that you'll post on social media. They want your expertise on how to go to market, like how to get exposure. How to work with influencer, how to storytell better. Can you recommend more influencer on your side? That could be something that it really depends on what the startup need and what you can offer. If you have a background in marketing, right, you can offer marketing help. But if you don't have anything on that background, you can always offer like, okay, I'll post some video for you every quarter or things like that.
Yeah.
And that's work on a package, and we'll do product consultation every single quarter or every month, depending on your needs, and work on that. I know a lot of creator economy startup does that with creators as well.
Yeah, that's a very interesting way to be a co-founder of companies and to invest in companies, even if you don't have a ton of capital to start, because it's a great way to build wealth, right, over the long term. And of course, because the startup can, 50x, 100x in value from when it first starts. But how do you determine which ones are good to invest in?
Yeah.
How do you do your due diligence?
I think that it really comes down to your philosophy as well, and how good can you read people. I'm not gonna lie, I think venture capitalists, most of them is just in people, especially in early age startup. It's just looking at the founders, the founding team, how well they are, how risk averse they are, how can they adjust to pivoting, and like how much conviction you have in the founders. Most of the startups that I have invested in are in founders, because they're so early. Ideas can change anytime, honestly, if they're before a C round. One day they can building this platform, the other day they can building another thing. So all you can do is read the founders and how much you trust them. So I invested in Beacons when I met Neil, and I was like, oh my God, this guy is gonna do great things. Like, he knows what he wants, and he's a go-getter. And I was like, okay, I'm sold. And then Lumanu is another one that I invested in. When I saw the founder, he knows exactly creator economy, and he got a lot of creator on board. That's another one. Copy AI invested in founder. They had great track record. You want to look at their track record. Honestly, I don't think education mattered that much to me, especially. How could they prove some sort of tracker of like revenue or traffic that can be replicated? Like, how is their defensibility? How can their startup or themselves, their idea be defensible to disrupt this market?
Yes. And don't be fooled by the amount of money that they raised before, because there was a lot of venture capital money floating around in 2020, 2021.
Oh my God.
And you really want to pick people who can really distribute and really understand customer acquisition and the market, and whether they have a good fit and all of that, and if there's a true need for the product.
Exactly.
Because I do see sometimes there are some startups that pitch me to be part of their brand, but then they have no track record of actually getting customers, but they have a lot of funding, and that doesn't mean much, really.
It really doesn't. And a lot of creator economy startup, actually half of them gone away. And they became ghost startup. But so you really got to look really into it. It's the person starting this company because this is a hype right now, especially with AI being so big right now. There's going to be a bunch of AI company being funded, but then are these people in it because they actually see a pain point that they have been experiencing as well?
Yes. And being a serial founder is sometimes a good trade, but sometimes not always a good trade, because that could mean they have a lot of other things they're focusing on or trying to build, and this is like a side project that they outsource to a lot of people or hire someone to do. So definitely that's probably another thing to look out for as well. Yeah. You mentioned that you were networking with these, like you met with these founders. How did you go about even getting connected to them?
Yeah, because my content is so business focused at first, so a lot of them are inbounds. Like Copy AI inbounded me on TikTok, and I was like, oh wow, that's pretty cool. So that's a lot of them are inbounds, and then once you get on radar with one founders, they introduce you to a bunch of other founders, and that's how I got into that circle of network and investor as well. But if you don't have that, like if your content is more lifestyle, LinkedIn is your best friend. Twitter, oh my God, Twitter is also your best friend too.
Yes.
Because PR, investor, entrepreneurs are all on Twitter.
Yes. So you started posting on Twitter, some tweets, or is it more like you outreach on Twitter and engage on Twitter?
Yeah, so I started to post on Twitter about TikTok, because in 2020, TikTok's really big. No one really understand how to use it. So I started talking about TikTok, how companies should be using it. And then a lot of companies started to reach out to me and see if they can get help with that as well.
I see. So something about Twitter that I've been thinking about is it's a great place to establish thought leadership, and so is LinkedIn. But LinkedIn is more B2B, like business to business. So it's not so much for like attracting a large group of followers, but it could be good for attracting people who are experts in their particular area. How often do you post on Twitter? Like, how do you even use Twitter? I have no idea how to use Twitter. I'm not on Twitter.
Twitter is my least favorite platform.
Really?
Actually, LinkedIn. LinkedIn is my least favorite.
It's just so dry.
But like Twitter is not bad. I still don't fully understand Twitter yet. So I post here and there. This is bad, but I post here and there when I need something.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty privileged. Like I have a lot of like friends on Twitter that I've known from like entrepreneurship circles, so they boost my tweets up in general. But like how Twitter works, basically you try to comment on thought leader stuff and comment thoughtful thing, I guess, and try to get on their radars. And then on your tweet, you can provide value, share your experience, and try to tag company. That's what I've found helpful. Yeah. Let's say if you're breaking down like a company story, like tag them on multiple threads and things like that. Relevant people, get on their radar, have them boost your tweet, retweet. That's how you get in front of more people. But I don't really post on Twitter too much unless I need something. I'm not gonna lie.
So what's your most frequented platform?
Definitely Instagram.
Oh, okay.
Instagram, yeah.
I see. I think the next step from being just a creator and working with brands is to then establish yourself as some sort of leadership role so that you can have more opportunities, whether it's like creating a product of your own and scaling that to build wealth, or to invest in other companies, or to be a founder in other companies. And that's why I've been kind of thinking about Twitter. I just don't know how to go about it and like how to tweet, because it just seems like a very like finance bro, tech bro platform. And it seems like very few females are on there, but is that wrong?
I would say I think it's very heavily on tech and like politics, venture capital scene, but I'm starting to see a lot more creators on it as well. So there's
especially UGC creators, right?
It's because UGC creator caught on that companies are on there. So they started tweeting there to get company to recognize them, which is so smart. I love that. But I think you have very good potential on Twitter, because a lot of people want to see how to work with creator, how to a creator can work with more brands, and how to grow on social and things like that as well.
So then I'm also curious. You said earlier in the beginning that this is location independent. You can work from anywhere. So you moved back to Taiwan. Do you feel like this is going to continue to be the case? Do you feel like you might need to relocate somewhere in order to be able to meet up with more people in the industry?
Yes, I'm not gonna lie. If I'm just a creator, I'll be fine, living in Taiwan. But because I work in a startup, I'm a startup founder that relate a lot with creators. I need to be where the heart and soul is, which is New York, LA, things like that. So I definitely see myself having to travel quite a bit into the States or somewhere that creators are.
So is that something you're looking into, where to move to next?
I kind of want to move to Sydney. I think I told you this, but obviously Sydney doesn't have like tons of creator, but there is
founders.
I just want to I don't really want to move back to the States yet. But we'll see. I think their circumstance might make me go back there pretty much soon.
There is something that I've realized in recent years is that proximity is power. And that's something that I think it was Sean on My First Million said. He said in one of his, it was like, proximity is power. You have to be close to the people who are doing things that you want to do. And that's how you learn by example. And that's also how you become like on a closer sort of friend basis with a lot of more people who can help shape your future.
Exactly. I think that remote working is great. It provides a lot of values, but nothing beats meeting in person. The connection you can form in that, and I really strongly see that when I start meeting up with creators. The intimacy that you can talk
different.
to.
I feel the same, because I could talk to anyone via Zoom for this podcast, but sitting down here and chatting with you and hearing your story in person, it's even more inspiring to me too, to hear it from you directly. And so that's a really important thing that I think most people start to realize when they're coming out of this whole COVID situation. Because now even like China, like all of Asia is open.
Yeah.
So it's really going to be a
Thank
new
God.
world. Yeah.
Thank God. Yeah, I'm so happy that Taiwan is open. Like, no
Yeah.
more quarantining, because
Yeah.
I quarantined 5 times already.
Yeah.
So I'm done.
Yeah. So we were talking about like being around people
Yeah.
that can inspire you. How do you go about finding mentors? You mentioned you have a few mentors.
I would say being unapologetically, unapologetically consistent with them and follow up with them in every aspect if you could. Like, that's if you read an article or anything that kind of sparked how you think of them, like send it to them, like talk to them about it. Send them, I like to send gift cards here and there, especially with holidays and things like that. Get them on your phone, get them on your text message. That's what I always try to do. If I could get them on my text, that means I'm one step closer.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah.
And your mentors, are they just more for the being a founder part, like sort of startup world, or is it also the creator world as well?
Creator world less, I would say mostly in venture capital and founders world. And then a few of them are just people that I look up to that can just guide me in life. Yeah.
I see. Yeah, I think it's really helpful if you can find a mentor who is further along from you. And even if you can't find a mentor to be on text basis, just to follow along to see what successful entrepreneurs are doing and creators are doing and founders are doing is extremely helpful for you in building your wealth and just furthering yourself as a creator and person overall.
Exactly.
Yeah, a lot of podcasts to listen to too.
Yeah, and I like to find founders that are like 2 steps ahead of me. Maybe like they have done what I'm doing like a year ago. That's like the perfect person I want to find, because they still empathize with you and they want to help you with things as well.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're so young too. I think it's so easy to like outreach and then get their interest and get them to sort of speak to you.
Yeah.
But it's also important to put your best foot forward, right? Is there any way that you can think of that maybe others can provide value to them? Is it by like sharing expertise in certain areas of social media maybe they're not so familiar with?
Yeah, so I found that there are 2 types of mentor. One type that you can kind of feed back and forth in, and then I will try to like offer my help as like how can they strengthen their social media strategies. And then there's type of mentor that just really want to give, and I will give back as a way of how I appreciate that help and how I update them consistently to showcase how much I appreciate that. There's just a different type of dynamic that depending on your mentorships.
Got it. That's something I need to lean into, looking for a mentor for my next stage in life, but that's very helpful.
Yeah, because I think it's hard. I think I'm Asian, and in Asian culture, you always want to give something.
Yeah.
And if you're only taking something, you're like, oh no, like I want to provide value.
Yes.
That's something that I always ran into. But then sometimes you could just simply provide them your respect, and then they want that.
Yes. Oftentimes they just really appreciate someone who wants to learn, is keen to learn, and then will also take action and execute on what they learned from you. So that's definitely something to think about as well. Hey, what you're watching right now is the video version of our podcast. Did you know that we also have an audio-only podcast? If you're on the go or you don't have YouTube Premium but still want to listen to the podcast, then head to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Google Podcasts to tune in. We also do audio-exclusive weekly minisodes where I answer one question submitted by a listener like you in under 10 minutes. And if you love our audio podcast, we would love for you to leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. All right, back to the conversation. And just lastly, a little bit to touch upon before we finish everything. I'm very curious what your experience is like as an Asian creator and founder in this space. I was in Singapore and I spoke to a creator there who has a very large following, and he basically said, like, I chose to stay in Singapore because this is a smaller place, but I can be
top.
at the top. Whereas if he had the opportunity to move to the US as his career was coming up, but he decided to stay. And the reasoning was that in the US you struggle a lot more to be seen in a bigger pool. And even though the pool is bigger, it's more of a struggle. And I find that to be the case. I do find that being Asian is a good differentiating factor, and it's really good for attracting like people who are like me, like you. But it is hard. I feel like it's very hard because we're just the 5% of the population. Is it 5%?
Not sure.
It's like under 10%. Have you felt like that's something that is difficult to you, or it's an advantage?
I found that I definitely seen that creators of privileged, how would I phrase this? This is an interesting phrase. I definitely found that it's a little bit difficult for you to be widely seen. Right. I think very few creators had made it that very widely seen, even on TikTok. And even so, if they're widely seen, it's widely seen by people of color.
Yes, that's right. I'm thinking immediately the name that pops into my head is Alex Earl.
Yes. I like Alex Earl. I just see that there are a lot of creators that I think it's really cool. Pepperoni Muffin, it's on TikTok. Her name is Kristen. She has like 8.6 million following, and her sister as well. And she live in Hawaii. She is Asian. She's the funniest person I've ever seen. But she hasn't been verified yet on TikTok, which is something that I'm like, that's interesting.
Yes.
A lot of opportunity. She's a lot more humble and things like that. Didn't get too much. She still worked with a lot of big brands, but a lot of opportunity seems like there isn't quite there for her, which she could definitely grab.
Yes.
So I definitely see that, but I think that we're still privileged enough that we have a very close knit of community. Like Asian always support Asian, and because of that my following is mostly Asian as well. So I see that as privilege as well, in a way advantage, because a lot of brands want to work with people of color as well, and you can position yourself as that too.
Yes, absolutely. That too. So you can definitely use it to your advantage. And so if there's like big significant cultural events, you want to reach out to brands before that and sort of establish yourself in that light and be able to work on campaigns for Chinese New Year, Mid-Autumn Festival, that kind of stuff.
But one thing I definitely see, like working on the brand side, is that people of color definitely get paid less because they're afraid of asking for more. That's fact.
Wow. Okay. Damn. So basically what you're saying is like people of color just pitch less money, and that's why they get paid less?
Yeah, I think that they just don't see the value of themselves yet. They were like, oh, let me try this out. Whereas like I will receive some people of that like pitch me $7,000, and then the same type of creator with the same exact following will pitch me 2,000. I'm like, my god, no, just shoot the star. And people, if they want to work with you, they will lower your rate.
Yes, that's true. That's definitely true. So for this whole pay gap thing, do you think it's really on the creator themselves, on educating the creators? Is there more that the brands can do to help reduce this gap? I think a brand agency that is doing it well, influence agency, is for.co, and they were called out for not doing it well, like the pay gap. And then they publicly made a post and then started really being much more inclusive and doing a lot more education with like pay transparency.
I think that I could understand why brands doesn't show that, because imagine running a brand, right? You always want to get the best ROI for your bucks, and if you can get less money, why not? Like step into their shoes a little bit. But then I coming back to the influencer side, you really need to educate yourself as a creator, have a community that you can trust, and try to dissect how much you actually worth, and know your worth and stand firm of that too.
Yes. Definitely. One more thing that I think Asians are particularly not so good at is presenting yourself in a super confident way and just fighting for yourself and shouting on the top of your lungs all of your achievements. We've been so indoctrinated to think that we should never talk anything about ourselves, our achievements. And in a way, it's a really beautiful quality. I really appreciate it. I love when I see humility. But in an online world, when you don't get to talk face to face and they don't get to really hear your story or get to know you, you have to put yourself out there. You have to be like, I'm a X-figure creator and online educator, and then these are all the things that I have done. It's kind of necessary.
Just list out your thing. Yeah, no, I agree. I run into that issue myself so much, especially being younger as well. Not so much now as a creator. I think I'm more comfortable doing that, but as a founder, I still struggle with that imposter syndrome a little bit.
I see. And especially because as a founder and an investor, it's usually male dominated and they're often older.
Oh yeah.
But it seems like you are using your age and your identity to your advantage. Which is fantastic.
I definitely am. But there's ways that you can present yourself. Like when you're talking, go down when you're talking and talk slow.
These are fascinating tips.
Yeah. So especially when I'm talking to founders or investor, I purposely talk super slow. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I like that. So I'll take that tip if I ever need to speak to a founder, because I'm pretty high pitched. But you know, one thing I think is changing in the world is that because so much of what we do is online and is visual, I feel like I want to push for a wave of girly looking founders and like silly sounding founders. Like we don't all have to talk low. I mean, that's a great tip. But just hopefully in the future, as this world diversifies even more, I want to see a girl in all pink and not a suit. How about just like a skirt? Or like a dress, you know, like a ruffled dress. Like you can be just as smart and capable, but it's the perception that really gets you down. And so I think in this age where social media and visuals are so important, perhaps we will see a world in the future where you can still maintain your identity with however you want to dress and still be taken seriously.
Yeah, I 100% agree, because I when I post on social media now, because I have investor following my Instagram, I recognize myself pulling back on what I wear or how I present myself. Like I want to post a bikini photo. I can do that because guess what? I have an investor on there. But I try to push my boundary a little bit more. And if they want to invest in me, they should know that this is how I'm going to get the app out, literally.
Yes, absolutely. So I hope you can also, over time, maybe stand your ground on that. That would be so great to see one day. But I just want to take a second to say, like, I'm so impressed with everything that you have done so far, being so young, but being a founder and entrepreneur and creator and everything, and being able to also like move back to Taiwan and like understanding that life is long and all that. I'm just very impressed, and it's very inspiring. So thank you for sharing your entire story and all your insights and everything with us today.
Of course. Well, thank you for having me.
Lastly, where can people find you online?
Everywhere on Instagram, on TikTok. It's all by Sandy Lin.
Nice. So check that out. And then I believe your YouTube is coming soon.
Yes, I still need to change my handle to by Sandy Lin.
Okay. So that will be coming soon, and we'll definitely link it down below.
Thank you.
Thank you.